Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Brenna, and I'm with Seven Eagle Group, and I have the awesome job of interviewing cool people every Thursday about cool things that affect the military community. So I want to thank Lucy for being here with me today. She is the CEO and president of the Meridian Rails Historical Society, and we're going to learn a little bit today about her military spouse journey and how that led her to have such a huge impact on bringing the military and civilian community together in her area, as well as preserving history. So, Lucy, thank you so much. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too. I'm honored just to be here and talk to everybody because it really has been a very unexpected but insanely fun journey. So I'm excited to share a little bit of that with you guys today.
Perfect. Can you give us your background as far as how you became a military spouse, kind of your journey thus far, and what brought you to where you are today?
Sure. Yeah. So, ironically, my husband and I met while he was a student here in Meridian about 10 years ago, 2012. Yeah, that's crazy. 10 years ago. Starting to get old. I'm like, man, those numbers are getting up there. But we met while he was a student aviator here in Meridian. And I actually lived in Alabama at the time. So then after he winged, we moved to San Diego for a brief time and then to Virginia Beach and then back to Meridian. So this is our second time in Meridian. One of the biggest things I remembered about Meridian the first time was that people didn't like to stay here on the weekends, that, there was nothing to do. And so they would jet set down to Pensacola as quickly as they could to get out of town. So when we got orders to come back, we have two very precious little boys. I was like, oh no, what are we going to do with our kids on the weekend? I've been pleasantly surprised though. When we got back to Meridian, I saw that there was a community that was very much so rising up to make some huge impacts and changes here in Meridian. And I'm excited that I've gotten to be a part of that. So with the society, I started it kind of just unexpectedly. Back in 2020, I had two little boys, one of which loved trains more than he could explain. And I'm a history lover and I have a background in graphic design. That's what I did some in Virginia Beach. I also was a program director there with the Little Gym. So member engagement, community involvement has always been something that's kind of been embedded in my DNA.
A lot of military spouses have that experience, whether it's volunteered or voluntold, right?
Right. I think a big part of why that comes so naturally is all of the events that we go to between Fighter Ball for us, networking with different people and talking to different people and it just becomes something that you're used to doing because in some ways, I've felt responsible to represent my family and my husband at all of those. And so that's something that's really been a skill that I've used here getting this project done. So I was working on a design for a friend, a fellow military spouse, actually, who has a real estate business here. And she wanted something that was just all Meridian based. And so anytime I do a design, the best way to do that is to start researching what the subject is. And I started diving into the history and I found out that this town was literally founded on the railroads. And meanwhile, I'm looking to take my kid to Chattanooga to go see a train. I'm like, why don't we have that here? We should. So I started asking questions and I felt the need to do something about it. And man, did it take off quickly, very, very quickly. We found out that there was a really good railroad museum here about 5 years ago. And then unfortunately through some not current, but previous administration changes, they lost this building. But we also found out that this building was only for railroad museum purposes only. And so we went to the city and worked with them and they donated the building outright to us and we were able to open our doors. And now we host field trips and railroad safety courses for drivers, brand new teen drivers that are coming and don't know anything about railroad crossings.
You are in the museum right now, like what we see.
I am in the museum. Yeah. So this is, it was the former Railway Express Agency building, which if you're not a railroad buff, which I was not 2 years ago, basically what that is, it was like the DHL of locomotive times. They would pick up packages and drop packages off locally via rail. Obviously we know that air travel made that look a little different, but we still know that freight's the biggest way that we move things in our economy. So yeah, so we're here in the museum now. Those are train horns behind me over on this side. We have a lot of those, but yeah, this is the museum.
That is very cool. So, what is the most surprising thing you learned about yourself when you started this historical society?
I have learned that I am capable, very capable of figuring things out. I did not know how to run a nonprofit when I started this. I did not know anything about grant writing, but I knew that I knew people that did. And so I think one of the things is that I've learned that I'm very resourceful through this process, and the community that surrounded me and helping us get to where we are. It's just amazing to see that whether military or local, when there's a good objective and a good goal, it really forces people to come together and push forward to get it done. In addition to this building, literally the day after that we got this building, we were donated also a building right across the way from us. So we now own about $1 million worth of property assets, and we have a huge project that's going to bring so many programs to military spouses and families that will sometime peace Mississippi, because we know that that's not going to change anytime soon. So
Yeah. So, what is the second building going to be used for? Does it also have ties to the railways?
it does. So it is actually a former cotton compress building, and it houses the original steam powered cotton press compress inside of it. So the plan is probably 5 to 10 years from now, because obviously this is a very expensive and extensive project. We'd like to make a much larger railroad museum that has moving trains coming in and out that people can actually get on and experience history instead of just looking at it. So we know that, in other places that this is being done, it brings so much economic growth. And with everything that Meridian's doing right now, we would be a great addition to that. So it's a huge deal for us.
That's amazing. And you had a veteran family donate a whole like toy rail system, correct?
Yeah, I actually can walk us over there if that's okay. But the guys are working on it right now. But when we got the building back, there was a family locally, and he was a veteran, and he passed away very unexpectedly at a young age from COVID. And she donated his entire collection, which we've expanded to be a little bit larger. And the guys are building it out right now. So it's going to look a mess, but model railroading is a process here. I'll try to step out of the frame.
Oh, wow.
So they've laid track down here. They're working on building up all of those are going to be mountains that will be painted and things like that. So, and this building is actually an exact replica. Well, not exact, but a very close replica to Union Station that's actually right outside of our door, where Amtrak actually comes in and out. So I think most people don't realize there's a huge interest in art where the railroad community is concerned as well, because that's an art project if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, it really is. Our local museum, the Museum of Aviation at Warner Robins Air Force Base in Georgia, has a railway group that comes every Thanksgiving time frame, and they set up for a week in a big hangar, and I just can't get my kids out of there. I love seeing the passion and the history, and they are able to just like replicate little towns, and I love that they're able to preserve that history aspect of it.
Well, kids are so amazing too. That they really learn through play, and I think that just the opportunity to provide those parallel play moments. A lot of my background too was working at a franchise called the Little Gym, which I worked at in Chesapeake, Virginia. We were stationed in Oceana. I worked there for years, and I understand the importance of those developmental milestones and having programs readily available for moms. And, one of the biggest reasons I did this was because I grew up with girls. I had no idea how to raise a boy or how to bond with a boy. I had a sister. And so, this kind of just became Connor, my oldest son, and I's thing that we did together. And I want all moms to have that opportunity to bond with their sons over something. And we go chase trains when we're having sad days because it just makes us happy and it's our thing together. So it's really special.
Yeah, I love the video you posted yesterday, I think, of you guys hunting down a train. We have a train that's just outside our base, like a lot of bases do when they used to have to move equipment and fuel and people that way. And every time we get stuck, leaving the base, the kids think it is the best thing.
Yeah. Ironically, when I was little, sorry, go ahead.
When I'm trying to get somewhere, it's not the best thing, but it is fun to watch all the trains go by.
when I was little, I used to just scream. I hated I hated trains, and now like here I am running a railroad museum. So my mom is just. I grew up in a very small town in Athens, Alabama, which also right now is getting massively huge. But she's like, it's so ironic that you're like the director of a railroad museum, but when you were little, I dreaded it because you would just scream the entire time. So, and I've only ridden on really one train before, and so I kind of joke that it's funny. I've learned a lot, but I knew so little, but I knew that it was something that had to be done. So you just, when you see those moments, you just take them. You just go for it.
Yeah, so like you said, you've learned grant writing. I'm sure volunteer management, like you said, you've already done in the past. What other skills do you think are unique to being a military spouse that you have utilized?
Being adaptable is the biggest thing. We as military spouses go through so much change. And, I think one of the most difficult things for me is just not having family in town and having to figure out ways to be a mom, a wife, and then also do something that's meaningful for me. It's all about balance. And I think being a military spouse has really helped me have some perspective on all of the aspects of my life that are important and how to balance those. And it's taken a long time, but military spouses are so adaptable because we're used to juggling a lot of things and doing it with little to no help. And so I think overall, it's cool to see us thrive in those type of moments because that is a skill that's a benefit that we've learned. It may not always feel like a benefit in the moment, but we managed to make it work.
Yeah. So how much coffee is required for you to drink to run this and your own life?
Oh, all of the coffee. It gets crazy. And I think the benefit too is that my kids do love being here so much. I think more than coffee, it's just lots of time in the museum with my kids, trying not to scream at them for undoing what I'm doing. But yeah, copious amounts of coffee.
Yeah.
And I work early in the morning or work late at night, and they are going to school full time this year. So I'm super excited to have that little bit of time to help.
Because you said there's going to be school field trips. So are their classes going to set up a field trip to come visit mom at the train museum?
Yes. And the funny part about that is that my son thinks that he's me when his classmates come because he doesn't let them. He's like, no, you can't touch that. That one's not safe. This one's safe. He becomes like this little museum tour guide giving everybody the show of the ropes. So his class actually last year had both their field trip here, and then they also had a end of the year school bash here. And then he still wanted to have his birthday party here. So I'm like, are you not tired of me in this yet? But he's not. He loves it. But it is always interesting when he comes because actually when his field trip came, we read the Operation Lifesaver books, which is called Train and Track, and it talks about how trains can't stop on a dime and that you never play around railroad tracks and things like that. But as I'm reading the story, my son raises his hand in the middle of the class and says, "Mom, can you be done now?" So he's a character, but yeah, he loves it. It's been fun to watch him kind of blossom too, and kind of show off. He's very proud of it, and I think too that's a great feeling as a mom that he's definitely proud of Mama. Yeah. He's seen me work for it. That's for sure.
I'm sure your husband is proud too. He gets to fly his airplane, and you get to play on the rails.
Yes, we are a full family of trains, planes, and automobiles in our house because obviously mommy's the train lady, daddy's the plane guy. And so my kids kind of get the best of both worlds. They're living a little boy's paradise right now. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Between air shows and train shows. Absolutely. It's a thing.
So where have you gone on a train ride? Because I know I used to take the train to and from college. It was just a simple Amtrak trip for 2 hours. So it was easier than driving. What is your personal train experience? You said you've been on it once.
I literally have ridden the trolley in New Orleans. So we went, well, actually I take that back. I've ridden two. So I rode the trolley in New Orleans. We actually went down last year to see the Union Pacific Big Boy, which is the largest operational steam locomotive. We went down to see that, and that was kind of my first, I guess, train experience. But I did ride it when we were in Philadelphia, just the public transit train. But we do have a trip planned. I have a bucket list. I want to go out to the Western Maryland and ride the 1309 That's a little bucket list item of mine. And then also TVRM, we're hoping to go there this fall as well when it cools off a bit. It's too hot right now.
Our
Way
bucket
too hot.
list is to go down to Disney for a couple days, and there is at one of the hotels they have one of the original like train cars from Walt Disney's Railroad.
Yeah.
And then we want to take the car train so we can put our car on the train and then take it all the way up from Florida to the DC area and then drive up and go see my sister who lives in New Hampshire and probably my boss, Jordy. I'm going to come see you in Seven Eagle, make a little stop there too. But that's kind of my dream because I know the kids want to go on the train. And I want to see my sister. So that'll be the best of both worlds. And to have our car come with us.
Yeah, you can pack me along in your suitcase if you want. I will absolutely come.
You get like the train car that has the bathroom and
yes, yeah, it's amazing too. I think a lot of people are really seeing the possibility of rail transit. You look at European countries and you see what they're doing and how easy it is to just hop on a train and go somewhere. And my hope is that the infrastructure gets a lot better, and that's something that someday in the future my kids will get to experience. There's a lot of private tourist railroads that are opening up a lot of great operations too. Kentucky Steam is one of them. There's just so many great ones that I absolutely love to follow in their journeys. And it's a little intimidating too, because we also have a steam locomotive that we would like to relocate, and that's the engine we would like to eventually restore to operational. So in a sense of things that I've had to crash course on, I knew nothing about the procedures of moving locomotives, but that's another thing that I've had to learn about, and also how to go to the city and the state and try to figure out the permits and things like that. So eventually someday maybe you can come right on my train here and take a little trip in the South. That's the goal.
That would be awesome. I know that so cool. I've experienced, like I said, the one to college. I've been in Europe before and gotten my Euro-Rail pass and kind of done that thing. I've taken the bullet train in Japan. And so I love train travel. I think that it is so easy. And
relaxing too. I mean, we live in a society where people just want to get there fast and be there and be able to do all the things. But sometimes it's better for us to just enjoy and then rush when we get there, So I think that is a long lost luxury that people just can't even fathom anymore. But back in the day, that was how people did things. It was a vacation to be able to go. And this building actually was a part of the original depot that was built in 1906. And so that's a kind of cool piece of history as well. Just thinking about all the passengers that came through and sat, on these benches and things like that. It's kind of amazing to think about.
So those are the original benches that had been in that building?
Yes, these were part of the depot. Yeah. And that was one of the things with this building was that even though the city had, I guess removed that group from this building, all of these artifacts were still in here, just locked away, just sitting. And so I really hated that because all of these railroaders needed their story told. And that was one of the biggest reasons that we wanted to do this, because we were founded on the rails. And actually when Sherman came through during the Civil War, he got the rails super, super hot. The tracks and twisted them around trees. And they said, Meridian will be no more. Well, this city rebuilt the tracks in 26 working days to become the largest city in the state of Mississippi then. So the fact that there was no railroad museum, that had to change. So
yeah, that's a great little piece of history.
It really is. We actually have a little replica of what that would have looked like outside. And it's kind of incredible just to see how much heat that would have taken to do that. And how much effort it would have taken to undo that. But they somehow did it.
Yeah.
So people of Meridian are strong, I tell you.
Okay. So with there being the base and the population, how has having this museum kind of helped integrate the base populace with the civilian populace?
One of the biggest things I noticed when we moved to Meridian was that there wasn't a bridge in the gap between military and then locals. And so I think now, especially with all the growth that's happening downtown, there are more and more people that have seen the transition that I've kind of done. I feel more like a local nowadays. Like I really do, because I interact with these people on a daily basis. I'm downtown all the time, so they just kind of feel like family. And now we see some spouses that are volunteering for other events like the Sip and Savor. And overall, through the power of social media is the biggest thing. All of the word about the stuff that's happening downtown is kind of spreading and reaching the base a little bit better than it used to. That was one of the things around the same time that I kind of started this. I also had a social blog that I did, which was called the Mississippi Social Bee. And I would just go around and kind of take pictures of stuff and post it on social media.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never been in there, so I was just curious. And especially in a town like this, there's a lot of locally owned businesses, and a lot more people are doing that. And I think that it's just so much more improvement. And now the community seems way more integrated, and there's a lot more progress happening that way. Military spouses can be very powerful in communities like this, especially when they believe.
Oh no, Lucy, I see you're muted there. Oh no. Okay, well, it looks like we're having some technical difficulties. Oh, okay. There you go.
There we go. We're good now. I got muted somehow. Just on
Yeah, so the impact that military spouses
I think that
local.
Yes, I'm seeing so much more of that now, and them getting involved and just being such a powerhouse, and volunteering for these things to help this be a better base to be stationed at, so that it's not a downer when you get orders to come to Meridian. It should be something that's exciting, and so much is happening here right now that I think that it will really be a place that people want to come to.
That's awesome. I think we can all kind of take a cue from you and make sure that we're exploring our local area. So we're stationed here in Georgia, and I know a lot of people like to jet off to Savannah or Atlanta on the weekends, but there's so much in the local area, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of exploring or finding someone that has, a local blog that's willing to go out there and kind of do some of the footwork a little bit ahead of you. And there was
absolutely.
Oh, go ahead.
Have you been to a Savannah Bananas game? Because I've heard that they're amazing.
I have not. We have the Macon biscuits, or no, the Macon bacon here. And I know that at Maxwell, they have the biscuits. So I'm from Fresno, California, and we have Fresno State is huge on their football, and they have the Grizzlies. So I do have a funny story about I got hit in the face at a baseball game when I was like 11.
No.
Yeah, it just hit me like straight in the face. So now I'm very careful since I broke my nose very badly that I make sure I'm sitting in the correct spot. I know they have like nets up now, but all the safety and security that is now at college baseball games is probably because I got hit in the face, and then the next day my sister also got hit in the face.
Oh no!
With her parents same weekend.
Well, I brought them up because the power of LinkedIn and TikTok. I have just become so engulfed with this franchise, and I don't even know it's a franchise at this point. But they do the TikTok dances on the baseball field, and it is probably the most entertaining thing I've ever seen. But what a genius idea to come up with something that outside of the box and promote it the way that he has. And it's just been so successful. I think that it's a big lesson too, like with this, the more awareness that we spread on social media, the more impactful we've been. I think the older generation that may have been running this museum before just didn't know how to utilize those marketing tools, and social media can really be powerful. It really, really can. So I think that has really been a huge part of our success. And I would imagine the Savannah Bananas are probably accrediting it to that too. I mean, it's just amazing to watch what they've done.
Yeah, tapping into the local community. So MFAN had a military family support study, and it showed that people who are more connected to their local community have higher or better mental health and better physical health. So I'm sure that you are helping to kind of raise people up in your area and make sure that they are finding that they're included, and especially the community seeing that their history has not been forgotten. And for a military spouse to come and recognize it, I think is phenomenal.
I think as a military spouse, every place that we've gone, there's something for me to do there. There's a reason that I'm supposed to be there. There's something I want to leave there. And I think that every military spouse should really try if they can, and I know that it's hard sometimes, to look at PCS as an opportunity to find what your purpose is in this next place. So that's really been a big thing for us. I will be completely honest, and if you're from Meridian and you're watching this, I'm so sorry. I was not happy when we got orders here. I was devastated, and for some of our military spouses, I think that most of them would agree that a long time ago, not a long time ago, a few years ago even, people just did not want to come here. It was when I got actually asked to be in a local organization by a friend that I started to realize that any situation can be what I want it to be, and as successful and as impactful as I want it to be. And so, although this has been hard and probably the most challenging thing that I've ever done, I've never been more proud of something. And I feel like as a military spouse, I know that I'm leaving things for other military spouses and the community in the future. Heaven forbid I ever leave, which is not on the plan anytime soon. Well, my husband did get hired at FedEx, but we can obviously commute and stay here. But we're trying to decide exactly what that is. But I'm so embedded here that like I can't. It's hard to think about ever leaving.
Yeah.
But if I do, I know that I left something good.
It's making that support system that we have in the military. And then, like you said, once you get out, you have to figure out what that new support system is really going to look like.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I have that here in local community. If I ever needed something, I know 30 people I could call to help me out, and they're all locals. So they do support us, and they know that we're here. They do.
You've said so many powerful words about how military spouses can apply themselves. And then, of course, everything you're doing right now is directly applicable to future careers for you. Maybe on the train system or elsewhere. But I admire you for finding the best in a situation and then loving it so much that you are so satisfied and you're happy to be where you are.
I love the railroad community. I didn't expect it, but now I can't imagine ever not being a part of the railroad community. I mean, they like to slap duct tape on everything, but they're such a fun group. And I'm thankful that Meridian has given me that knowledge that I didn't know was there.
Perfect. Do you have any last words for those that are watching, or do you want to also, if you want to introduce our guest for next week, I'll let you do that too.
It's who we talked about earlier, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I drink a lot of coffee. Obviously, I know this person, but Ariel Resupply Coffee Company, Mike, is going to be on with you next week, from what I understand.
I'm so excited. I'm going to have my Christmas coffee brewed. It arrives tomorrow. Good. But yes, so thank you so much, Lucy, for being with me.
Thank you so much for having me. And for those that have been following our journey, thank you for supporting us, and join us at RailFest this year, November 5th. We're going to have downtown, the Norfolk Southern Lawman Band is headlining it, which is a huge deal. So if you want to see what we've been doing, come see it in person November 5th, 8 to 4.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you. Have a good one.